the privilege to be here. And I asked Melissa, I have her permission. I met her daughter, Lacey, is that better? Can you all hear me? Can you? Okay, good. Oh, yeah. Now I don't feel like I have to yell. Several years ago, and it's just beautiful to see her progress. So I wanted to just share very briefly what we do, why we do it, and then just open it up to a few questions. And I love that the psychiatrist spoke about lifestyle, because you have so much power in your kitchen to change how you and your kiddos show up. So do I just use the advance button to move it? Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about functional medicine, but about me. I'm a board certified pediatrician. I went to medical school in San Antonio, did my residency internship in pediatrics at William Beaumont Army Medical Center, and I served in the United States Army for several years and was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. And my own health failed, and I sought out functional medicine. I used to weigh almost 300 pounds. I was clinically depressed. I was medically retired from the military, and I could not make the connection between my brain and my heart. I knew all the right things, but I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I took antidepressants off and on for 27 years. 3 out of my 4 children have autoimmunity, and never once in the pediatric rheumatology department at Texas Children's did they ask me, what does your child eat? So anyway, this kind of got me on this road. So the purpose of today is just to unpack lifestyle, genetics, and then the medical approach, because what you can do at home is very, very powerful. All right, so you have to kind of take a look at what's happening underneath the surface. White-Sutton syndrome, just like many complex medical conditions, involves a lot of symptoms that reflect what's happening underneath the surface. And that involves inflammation. When your house is on fire, what do? You put the fire out. So there's multiple systems in inflammation, but I'll talk a little bit about what you can do specifically in a sec. And there's other root causes. So how all these systems in the symphony of your body works. So in order to restore balance and function, we've got to look at those root causes, and there's a way to do it in an intelligent sequence, and that's lifestyle, genetics, and the medical approach. You want to spend your money wisely. You don't want to spin your wheels and do things out of order. So what does this include, and why start with lifestyle? So at our practice, the very first thing we do is precision genetics. And it's just a little swab that looks like a little mascara wand. And you're coloring circles on the insides of your child's cheeks. And we call this the wellness blueprint. And we can do genetic consultations around the world. I only have a medical license in my providers in the state of Texas, but I also have a Florida telehealth license. And this is not like the exome that you guys had that shows deletions and additions that shows White-Sutton syndrome. It has to do with changes in little single genes that you can modulate. So what does it look at? Well, we talked about inflammation. So when your brain and your body is hot, red, swollen, and painful, your child cannot unzip their brain and say, look, mom, dad, my brain is hot, red, swollen, and painful. But how does that show up? Temper tantrums, holding their head, banging their head, pushing their stomach up against furniture, not being able to articulate what's going on inside their little brain and body. Neurotropic means how the brain regenerates itself. So there's certain enzymes in the brain that talk to the gut and back and forth. And that is very important too. I'm not a huge medication user, but I do use meds where appropriate. Here's one other medication that the psychiatrist didn't mention that works really, really well. It's an old-fashioned medication. Well, it's been around for a long time. It's called amantadine. So you might want to ask your care team about amantadine because it works really well too. And also, have y'all noticed that people are talking about intermittent fasting a lot and, prolonged periods? Well, it has to do with a system called autophagy. That means self-eating, and some people are much more prone to develop type 2 diabetes, where the sugar in their body stays in their bloodstream and it can't go into the cells. So if you have impaired autophagy, you might get hangry all the time, and you may need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And if your kids are like that, then they probably have impaired autophagy. So this panel shows if you have that, and there are ways to, with supplementation, to take that sugar in the bloodstream, pull it into the cells, and give your body fuel to function properly. So what happens is when you eat, you feel a lot better and you're happier. And then 2 hours later, you're hangry again and you have to feed your child. So that's a big system. So then that gives a cell fuel to process all the debris and the garbage and to kick it out into the bloodstream. So you can sweat out, pee out, poop out, or breathe out toxins. So that's called detoxification, and this panel shows us about that. Then y'all have heard probably about something called methylation. Well, everybody gets hung up on something called MTHFR. 48% of the population has that, but there's actually 7 enzymes in that pathway, and that's how to get vitamin B9 into the cells. There's been all the buzz with RFK Jr. talking about leucovorin. Well, this panel tells us if that's a good choice for your child. And I've been prescribing leucovorin for years, but that helps the body make something called methylfolate, and that's the end product. Then it looks at neurotransmitters, essential vitamins and minerals that your child may need, and what kind of food plans and exercise you will have the best function. All right, so there's also, when you think about the medical aspect, your child may have undiagnosed infections in addition to white Sutton syndrome and autism. So when you think about what's going on in the body and what taxes it, there's like a toxic burden, and then there can also be an immune burden, like an infection that's undiagnosed. So how many of you have heard of something called PANS or PANDAS? Okay, great. That stands for Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. So basically, anything that could potentially cause a fever that can cause brain inflammation. And PANDAS is for strep only, like the strep that causes strep throat. But it can be caused by flu or COVID or hand, foot, and mouth, which is something called Coxsackie virus, canker sores, those kind of things. And there are ways to modulate the immune system so that you're calming that. If you have pets, if your children have been bit by ticks, if you've had cat bites, there's Lyme disease in Texas. Think about deer ticks. They're all over. People can get that and you may not even know they have it. So we also look at the brain, and it's not just an MRI of the brain, but you can also do volumetric studies on the brain to show the left side, the right side, and if there's changes due to potentially living in a water-damaged building. You might have profound water damage in your home that's actually affecting your child's health and that you can do something about. All right, so we all know that each of our children is different, even if they're all diagnosed with White Sutton. If you have autism, Dr. Samuel Shore he's a PhD. He said, if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism or one person with autism. To get the diagnosis of autism, you have to have the child autism rating scale too. It's a list of symptoms on a sheet of paper, but it doesn't tell you why. So I would encourage all of you to consider this wellness blueprint as step one, but I'll just take a few more minutes for questions and answers, but also, would you like me to just comment about all the rage about gluten and dairy? Do you want me to say something about that? Somebody's shaking their head. Okay, you don't hear this typically from I worked for Texas Children's. I was faculty at Baylor College of Medicine, and then I opened my own practice. And, I think a lot of times as a parent, you propose something and bring something to medical experts, and you're looking for help, asking innocent questions, and you get gaslit or poo-pooed. And so I just want to say, hang in there, do your research. But gliadin, which is the protein in gluten, browse, BROYS is a great acronym. Barley, rye, oats. There's no such thing as gluten-free oats, even though Bob's Red Mill says so. Okay, that's an oxymoron. Oats have gluten in them. Barley, rye, oats, wheat, spelt. And then corn, dairy, millet, and rice are what we call gluten cross-reactive, meaning that microscopically, if you look at them, the body can't tell the difference and it thinks you're consuming gluten. Now, not everyone is going to get celiac disease, but you may develop what we call non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Now, the other component of this is casein. Casein is one of the proteins in dairy products. Casein and gliadin make short-chain opioids called casomorphin and gliadorphin. And the food industry has known this for years. So they put gluten in a donut with sugar and fat, and it keeps you coming back. And so does Bluebell ice cream. You've got the casein, you've got the fat, and you've got the sugar, and it's literally addiction. Okay, so when you remove these things from your child's diet and your own, hello, mom and dad, you want to create a sanctuary for your children. You never see a grown-up bull sucking mama's titties, okay? You never see a billy goat or a grown sheep doing that. So the only milk that people are meant to consume is human breast milk. Okay, and I know I get a lot of flack from that, but cheese has higher casein. The cheese is usually the hardest to give up, but it causes brain inflammation. And you may not notice anything immediately, but if you pull those out of your child's diet, and you do it one at a time, we have health coaches that partner with you. This is hard. It's like when you're used to these things, it's hard. If you have Amazon Prime, there's a documentary called The Magic Pill. There was a little girl there. It took 5 days, but it was like a living hell. She went through withdrawal when they went to Whole Foods, chicken, broccoli. She was hungry after 5 days, so she ate it, So there's a lot of things that you can do to pull toxins out of your home and to calm your child's mood and immune system. So I'll stop there and then just open it up for any questions. It's a free-for-all. Feel free to ask about anything. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. In regards to cheese, because I know that there's some information saying that like goat and sheep milk is closer to human breast milk, and so a lot of people are able to tolerate that where they can't tolerate other sorts. What is your opinion on that?
Well, it's the same thing. Casein is casein. So cow, sheep, and goat are ruminants. Ruminants have four stomach compartments, different enzymes, and if you remove casein, it would be all of that. Yeah, so my opinion is no. And that I've seen that through the years. The other is there's an enzyme on this panel that tells you about lactose. And very frequently, people will have diarrhea or the opposite, chronic constipation, that don't tolerate that. So I would say 100% removal. But you know what? There's Nada Moo coconut milk ice cream, no cow. It's really good. There's a lot of healthy alternatives to kind of satisfy your taste buds. But yes, especially if there's autoimmunity, complete removal of all of that for sure.
And then just one more thing. In addition to removing these food items to reduce inflammation in our bodies and our children's, do you have any recommendations for other steps that we can take to promote that detoxification?
Yes, there's a really good website called environmentalworkinggroup.org, and they also have an app for the phone. It's ewg.org. Your body care products should have the highest ratings. And fragrances, those kind of things, they're typically adulterated with a lot of heavy metals and things too. Avoid things that are manufactured in China because there's a lot of heavy metals in those. But movement, I don't like to call it exercise, okay? Movement, get your kids moving. And what she was talking about was sunshine early in the morning. That really helps with circadian rhythms. But what I love about that panel, it tells you specifically what you need, like N-acetylcysteine, or if you can't make enough glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant. And there's liquid, there's topical, there's capsules. And if you have these health challenges, then by golly, you really need to pursue that because it'll tell you exactly what you need and you don't have to guess. So, that's the problem. You hear the latest and greatest and you want to try this, try that, but you will know exactly what you need and what you don't need instead of guessing. Yeah. And when you think about, there's a little flyer back there. Typically, it's $1,500. It's $1,300 with that flyer. It's the test. It's an orientation, and it's 2 visits, 2 1-hour-long visits, and it will. And if you think about your child's life, what an impact that makes. I don't know if this would be a good time for Melissa to come up. I mean, to share unless there's other questions, but I don't know, just briefly from there, what happened. I asked her permission for this, but Melissa brought her daughter Lacey to see me. I guess it's been 2 years now, right? And the very first visit, she was so scared and she took her fingernails and she caused her daddy's hands to bleed. Melissa was crying. Lacey was very fearful. And along the way, we've discovered things and we've layered in what she needs and we've taken away what she doesn't need. And she's much calmer. And I'll also say that I remember it was December. It'll be 2 years ago next month that Lacey came home from school. She didn't have a fever, but she laid on the floor. She pooped and peed her pants. And Melissa said, "What's going on?" She's crying. And I said, "Take her to urgent care and have a strep test done." And sure enough, it was positive. And Lacey has pandas, which was caused by strep. No fever because her immune system does not work correctly. And she's had a tonsillectomy and an adenoidectomy. And because her immune system doesn't work correctly. And she is much better than what she was. And it thrilled my heart. I told Melissa that I haven't seen Lacey too many times. Usually I'm doing the appointments. Yeah, usually with mom and dad, but she said, Dr. K, she recognized me and it just blessed my heart. So you don't know what you don't know to get your child more present and where they can move forward. So I just, you can ask Melissa, but we have a lot of success stories for people who've just done the genetics. So I just encourage you to think about that. But put your oxygen mask on, like she was talking about, get yourself moving, have other people that you're in community with. Elevate the head of your bed. um, you know, um, Try to move. And I know there's so much convenience on feeding and that kind of a thing, but take good care of yourselves. It's so important in order to take care of your kids. I'll shut up. Any more questions?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and grab and take those. I'll leave, if any of you are interested in getting on our mailing list, I'll leave.
Them around and they all signed up.
Great. Oh, okay. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for the privilege of being here.
Thank you so much.